They were supposed to save him. 9 souls, bound by oath and fellowship, marching into the darkness to ensure one small hobbit could complete an impossible task. The greatest warrior of men, an elven prince, a dwarf lord, a wizard, and 4 hobbits, each chosen for their strength, their loyalty, their unshakable resolve. They swore to protect Frodo Baggins with their lives, to stand between him and every evil that Middle-earth could summon. They were his shield, his sword, his hope, and they were his greatest danger. The Fellowship of the Ring was doomed before it ever left Rivendell, not by prophecy or fate, but by a simple, terrible truth that none of them wanted to acknowledge. The ring did not need orcs or Nazgul to destroy its bearer. It only needed the people who loved him most. Every bond of friendship, every oath of protection, every moment of loyalty became a weapon in the ring's invisible war. The closer they stayed to Frodo, the tighter the noose around his neck. And when he finally understood this, when he grasped the full horror of what the ring was doing to the people he cherished, Frodo made the most agonizing choice any hero has ever faced. He left them behind, not because he was strong enough to go alone, but because he loved them too much to let the ring turn them into his executioners. This is the story of why the Fellowship had to fail, why unity, that most sacred of virtues, became the very thing that would guarantee Frodo's destruction. Why the ring's most insidious victory was not corruption, but isolation, forcing a hobbit to choose between saving his friends and saving the world, knowing he could never do both. At the Council of Elrond, when the Free Peoples gathered to decide the ring's fate, the assembly was a powder keg of competing agendas and ancient grudges. Boromir of Gondor saw a weapon that could save his dying city. Gimli saw a chance to prove dwarven valor. Legolas carried the weight of his father's isolationist shame. Gandalf bore the burden of divine purpose. Aragorn wrestled with a destiny he had spent a lifetime fleeing. And Frodo, small and terrified and impossibly brave, stood up and volunteered to carry the ring because no one else would. The moment the Fellowship formed, the ring began studying them. It did not see 9 heroes. It saw 9 points of vulnerability, 9 emotional pressure points it could exploit with surgical precision. The ring was not merely an object of power, it was a sentient force of corruption with thousands of years of experience in psychological warfare. It had broken Isildur, maddened Gollum, and even tempted Gandalf to the edge of claiming it. 9 mortals, no matter how noble, stood no chance against an evil that had been perfecting its craft since the First Age. But the Fellowship did not know this yet. They set out from Rivendell in the depths of winter, bound for Mordor, convinced that their combined strength would be enough. The early days of the journey were almost joyful. A band of companions sharing the road, telling stories, forging bonds. Pippin and Merry provided comic relief. Aragorn taught the hobbits the ways of the wild. Legolas and Gimli began their unlikely friendship with insults that would eventually transform into unbreakable loyalty. Even Boromir, troubled and proud, seemed to find peace in the mission. Frodo watched them all and felt safe, protected, loved. The ring whispered, "They will betray you, every one of them." The first crack appeared on Caradhras. The mountain, whether by Saruman's sorcery or its own ancient malice, turned against them with blizzards and avalanches. The Fellowship, forced to turn back, had to make a choice. The Gap of Rohan, where Saruman's forces waited, or the Mines of Moria, where older, darker things dwelled. Gandalf advocated for the Gap. Gimli pushed for Moria, desperate to find his cousin Balin and prove the Dwarven Kingdom still lived. The debate grew heated, tensions flaring in the cold. And Frodo, watching his protectors argue, felt the ring grow heavier, fed on discord like oxygen. Each raised voice, each moment of disagreement, gave it strength. The ring did not need to tear the Fellowship apart directly. It only needed to amplify the natural conflicts that arise when strong-willed individuals face impossible choices. It turned debate into argument, frustration into anger, and slowly, imperceptibly, drove wedges between people who had sworn to stand united. Gandalf finally deferred to Frodo, placing the choice on the ring-bearer's shoulders. Frodo, exhausted and uncertain, chose Moria. It was the beginning of his guilt, the first decision that led directly to catastrophe. The mines of Moria were a tomb pretending to be a passage. In that crushing darkness, illuminated only by Gandalf's staff, the Fellowship walked through the corpse of dwarven ambition. Balin was dead, his entire colony slaughtered. The halls that once rang with song and hammerwork now echoed with nothing but their own footsteps and the distant sound of drums. Drums in the deep. Pippin's mistake. Knocking a skeleton down a well, alerting every orc in Moria to their presence, was the kind of innocent error that should have been forgiven. But in the ring's presence, every mistake became magnified, every consequence amplified. The Fellowship was forced to run, to fight, to flee through passages that seemed designed to separate them. And when the Balrog rose from the depths, an ancient demon of fire and shadow, a creature from the world's first wars, Gandalf stood on the bridge of Khazad-dûm and made his stand. "You cannot pass." The bridge collapsed, the Balrog fell, and Gandalf, snared by the demon's whip, fell with it. His last words, "Fly, you fools," were both a command and a confession. He had failed to protect Frodo, and now the ring-bearer would have to face the rest of the journey without the one member of the Fellowship who truly understood what they were fighting. Frodo watched his mentor disappear into the abyss and felt the ring's satisfaction like a physical sensation. It had claimed its first victim, not through corruption but through simple, brutal separation. The Fellowship's greatest strength, Gandalf's wisdom and power, had been removed from the board, and the remaining 8, reeling from grief and shock, stumbled out of Moria into the sunlight of Lothlorien, diminished and shaken. But what they didn't understand was that Gandalf's fall was not the tragedy. It was the warning. Lothlorien should have been a sanctuary, but for Frodo, it was an education in fear. Galadriel, beautiful and terrible and ancient beyond reckoning, looked into his soul and saw the ring's work. She offered him her mirror, and in its waters, Frodo saw visions of a future where he failed, where the Shire burned, where his friends died screaming, where Sauron's victory was absolute and eternal. The weight of potential apocalypse, which had been abstract before, became visceral and specific. Every step he took toward Mordor was a step closer to either salvation or damnation, and the margin between the two was thinner than a razor's edge. Then came the moment that defined everything. Frodo offered Galadriel the ring. It was a test, though he didn't know it. A desperate attempt to hand the burden to someone stronger, wiser, more capable of resisting its influence. Galadriel, for a heartbeat, considered it. The ring showed her a vision of herself as queen, beautiful and terrible as the dawn, stronger than the foundations of the earth, all Middle-earth beneath her rule. She saw it all, wanted it with an intensity that made the trees around them tremble. And then she refused. "I passed the test," she whispered, her voice shaking with the effort of refusal. "I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel." Frodo learned two things in that moment. First, even the greatest and most powerful could be tempted by the ring, could feel its pull like gravity, could want it with soul-destroying hunger. Second, if Galadriel, who had lived for thousands of years and possessed wisdom beyond mortal comprehension, was not strong enough to carry the ring safely, then neither was anyone else in the Fellowship. The ring had to be carried by the weakest among them, because only the weak lacked the capacity for the kind of power the ring promised. A hobbit, small and humble and without ambition for dominion, was the only creature in Middle-earth who could resist long enough to reach Mount Doom. But that meant Frodo was fundamentally alone in this task. His companions could protect his body, but they could not share his burden. They could not understand what it felt like to carry a malevolent intelligence that whispered in your mind every hour of every day, that showed you visions of glory and power, that promised you the strength to save everyone you loved if you would only claim it. The Fellowship left Lothlorien by river, and with every mile south, the ring grew heavier and Frodo grew more distant. He stopped laughing at Pippin's jokes. He barely ate. When Sam tried to engage him in conversation about the Shire, about home, Frodo's responses were monosyllabic and distracted. He sat in the boat, hand unconsciously moving to touch the ring through his shirt, and his eyes held a haunted quality that made Sam want to weep. The other members of the Fellowship noticed but did not understand. They thought he was tired, scared, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the task. They did not realize that Frodo was fighting a war inside his own mind, that every moment of silence was a battle against the ring's influence, that his distance was not coldness but self-preservation, an attempt to maintain enough of himself to complete the mission. Boromir especially did not understand. The man of Gondor, noble and desperate and proud, watched Frodo withdraw and saw only weakness, saw a small creature buckling under a burden that a real warrior could carry with ease. The ring, sensing this vulnerability, focused its attention on Boromir like a spotlight. It showed him visions of Gondor saved, of his father's approval, of himself as the hero who turned the tide of the war. All he had to do was take the ring from the hobbit. Just borrow it. Just use it once. Just save his people. The breaking point came at Amon Hen, where the Fellowship paused to decide their route. Should they go to Gondor and aid in its defense, or continue directly to Mordor, abandoning the war to pursue the mission? The argument was rational, strategic, reasonable. But beneath the words, the ring was screaming. Boromir found Frodo alone in the woods. The conversation started gently. Reassurances, offers of help, suggestions that perhaps the ring could be used, just once, to save innocent lives. Frodo refused, and Boromir's tone shifted. Pleading became demanding. Demanding became aggressive. And suddenly the man who had sworn to protect Frodo was lunging for the ring. His face twisted with desperate need, his hands grasping like claws. "Give me the ring!" Boromir roared, and in that moment, he was not a man but a monster. Another victim of the ring's corruption, his nobility and honor burned away by a promise of power. Frodo ran. He stumbled through the forest, Boromir crashing after him like a wild animal. And in his terror, Frodo committed the act he had been warned never to do. He put on the ring and disappeared. The world shifted. Sound became muffled, colors drained away, and Frodo stood in the Shadow Realm where the ring's true nature was visible. He saw Boromir still searching, saw the man's anguish and self-hatred even as the ring compelled him forward. But more terrifying, he felt the eye of Sauron turn toward him like the gaze of a malevolent god. The Dark Lord saw him, knew him, and in that moment of recognition, Frodo understood the full scope of his insignificance. He was an insect trying to challenge a force that had shaped the world's history for millennia. He tore the ring off and collapsed, gasping at the seed of seeing. Below, he could hear the Fellowship calling his name. Aragorn, Sam, Merry, Pippin, all of them searching, worried, desperate to find him. And Frodo realized with sudden, crushing clarity that he could not go back to them. Not because he didn't love them, because he did. The ring had just turned Boromir, noble, heroic Boromir, into a predator. If it could do that to a man of honor in a moment of weakness, what would it do to the others over days, weeks, months of proximity? Aragorn, who bore the weight of kingship and the temptation of power. Legolas, who carried elven pride and the arrogance of an immortal race. Gimli, whose people had been destroyed by their greed for treasure. Even Merry and Pippin, innocent and loyal, could be twisted into instruments of Frodo's destruction. And Sam, dear, loyal, perfect Sam, who loved Frodo more than life itself. The ring would save Sam for last, would use that love as the ultimate weapon, would twist it into possessiveness and jealousy and eventually violence. Frodo had seen how the ring operated now. It did not corrupt through obvious evil. It corrupted through love, through the desire to protect, through the conviction that taking the ring was the only way to save the person you cared about from its influence. The Fellowship's fatal flaw was not weakness. It was love. And the ring was a predator that fed on love like a shark fed on blood in the water. Frodo made his decision. He would go to Mordor alone. He would take the ring away from everyone he cherished, every person who might be corrupted in their attempt to save him. It was not an act of strength but an act of mercy, a recognition that the only way to protect his friends was to leave them behind, to face the darkness alone, to accept isolation as the price of keeping the people he loved pure and uncorrupted. He took a boat and began rowing across the river, tears streaming down his face. Every stroke of thee or a farewell to fellowship, to friendship, to the hope that he might not have to face this horror alone. But Sam had been watching. Sam, who understood Frodo better than Frodo understood himself, who had promised Gandalf that he would not leave his master's side, who had no illusions about his own importance but infinite faith in the power of loyalty. Sam saw Frodo rowing away and understood immediately what was happening. He ran to the shore and plunged into the water. "I'm coming, Mr. Frodo." Sam could not swim. The water closed over his head, pulling him down, and for a moment, Frodo had a choice. Keep rowing, let Sam drown, continue alone as he had planned. It would be merciful in a way. Sam would die clean, uncorrupted, never having to face what the ring would eventually do to him. But Frodo could not do it. He turned the boat around, dove into the water, and pulled Sam up, gasping and choking. And when they sat in the boat together, Sam made a declaration that changed everything. "I made a promise, Mr. Frodo. A promise. Don't you leave him, Samwise Gamgee. And I don't mean to." Frodo looked at his friend, his gardener, his companion, his brother in all but blood, and understood that this was his last failure. He had tried to protect Sam by leaving him behind, and Sam had refused protection. The ring would have Sam now, would work on him day and night, would eventually find the crack in his loyalty and drive a wedge into it. Frodo had doomed the person he loved most by being too weak to leave him to drown. But there was no going back now. They would go to Mordor together, and Frodo would spend every day of the journey terrified not of orcs or Nazgul, but of the moment when Sam's eyes would fill with the same desperate need he had seen in Boromir's face. The relationship between Frodo and Sam became the story's beating heart, but also its greatest source of tension. Sam's loyalty was absolute, his love unconditional, and the ring despised him for it. It could not corrupt Sam directly. The gardener had no ambition, no desire for power, no hidden darkness to exploit. So it worked on Frodo instead, whispering constantly that Sam wanted the ring, that Sam was waiting for Frodo to weaken, that the only person Frodo could trust was himself. As they crossed the dead marshes, Frodo began to change. He snapped at Sam over small things, the weight of the cooking pot, the sound of his breathing, the way he said Mr. Frodo with that unfailing loyalty that now felt like judgment. The ring turned Sam's greatest strengths into sources of irritation. His optimism became naivety. His loyalty became suffocation. His love became a chain that Frodo desperately wanted to break. Enter Gollum, the ring's oldest victim and its most effective tool. When they captured the creature who had been following them, Frodo saw in Gollum's bulging eyes and twisted form his own future. This was what the ring did to its bearers given enough time. It hollowed them out, turned them into addicts who could think of nothing but their next fix, who would kill and betray and destroy everything they once loved for one more touch of their precious. Frodo pitted Gollum with the kind of empathy that comes from shared suffering. He understood, in a way Sam never could, what it meant to hear the ring's voice in your mind, to feel its weight not just physically but spiritually, to know that you were becoming something monstrous and being unable to stop it. Sam saw only a threat, a treacherous, murdering creature that would slit their throats the moment they let their guard down. His instinct was to kill Gollum or drive him away, but Frodo overruled him, insisting on mercy, on giving Gollum a chance at redemption. It was both Frodo's greatest moment of compassion and his most dangerous decision, because the ring used that mercy against him. It whispered that Frodo and Gollum were the same, that they understood each other, that Sam, pure, uncorrupted Sam, could never truly comprehend what it meant to carry this burden. Slowly, imperceptibly, the ring drove a wedge between Frodo and Sam, elevating Gollum from prisoner to confidant. Frodo began to trust Gollum's advice over Sam's instincts. He defended Gollum when Sam accused him of treachery. He created a triangle where there had been a partnership, and in that triangle, Sam was increasingly the outsider. Sam watched his best friend slip away and felt helpless rage. He had followed Frodo into hell, had promised to stay by his side no matter what, and now Frodo was choosing the creature who had tried to kill them over the friend who had saved his life. The resentment grew, festered, and the ring celebrated every moment of division. It was achieving through psychological warfare what Sauron's armies could never accomplish through violence. It was isolating Frodo, cutting him off from the one person who might still pull him back from the edge. The stairs of Cirith Ungol were where the corruption reached its apex. 3 figures climbed: a ring-bearer on the verge of complete breakdown, a loyal servant pushed to his breaking point, and a treacherous guide leading them both towards slaughter. Gollum, still enslaved by his own need for the ring, had made a plan. Lead them to Shelob, let the spider kill them, take the ring from their corpses. It was the act of a creature so twisted by the ring's influence that it could no longer conceive of any solution that did not involve betrayal. But the true betrayal was not Gollum's plan. It was what happened between Frodo and Sam on those stairs. They stopped to rest, exhausted and starving, and Sam tried one more time to reach his friend. He offered to carry the ring just for a little while, just to give Frodo some relief. It was an act of pure love, completely selfless, the offer of a servant who would bear any burden to ease his master's pain. Frodo's response was instantaneous and terrifying. His hand shot to the ring, clutching it protectively, his face contorting with possessive rage. "Don't touch it!" he snarled, and for a moment, Sam saw not his friend but something else, something that would kill him without hesitation to protect its precious. Then Frodo's face crumpled with shame and horror at what he had almost done. He turned away, unable to meet Sam's eyes, and in that moment, both of them understood the truth. The Fellowship's fatal flaw had been proven correct. Love was not enough. Loyalty was not enough. Even the purest friendship in Middle-earth could not withstand the ring's corruption. Frodo was beyond saving through companionship. The only thing keeping him moving toward Mount Doom was momentum, the dying inertia of a decision made long ago, before the ring had consumed everything he was. Sam should have left then, should have recognized that his presence was causing more harm than good, that the ring was using his love as a weapon against Frodo. But Sam was not wise or strategic or capable of cold calculation. He was loyal, and loyalty in this story was both the greatest virtue and the most exploitable weakness. Shelob's lair was the culmination of Gollum's betrayal, but in a twisted way, it was also a mercy. When the spider's venom paralyzed Frodo, wrapping him in webs and dragging him toward her feeding lair, it offered him something he had not experienced in months: silence. The ring's voice went quiet. The weight lifted. For the first time since Bag End, Frodo Baggins ceased to exist as the ring-bearer and became simply unconscious. No burden, no mission, no corruption. Just darkness and peace. Sam, watching Frodo's body being taken, made a decision that defined his entire character. He did not take the ring to complete the mission himself. He took it only to keep it from the enemy, with every intention of giving it back to Frodo the moment he could. Even in his moment of greatest heroism, fighting a demon spider with nothing but sting and desperate courage, Sam remained what he had always been: a servant, a friend, a gardener who believed that his role was to support, not to lead. When he rescued Frodo from the Tower of Cirith Ungol, he returned the ring immediately. And Frodo, waking in that orc-infested tower surrounded by corpses, accepted it with the resignation of an addict receiving their drug. The brief respite was over. The burden returned, and the final climb to Mount Doom stretched ahead like the last mile of a marathon run by a dying man. The plains of Gorgoroth were where the true cost of the Fellowship's breaking became apparent. Frodo could barely walk, barely think, barely remember why he was moving forward. The ring had grown so heavy that he crawled on hands and knees, dragging himself across volcanic rock that tore his flesh to ribbons. Sam tried to help, tried to carry him, but Frodo's body had become so wasted that even Sam's strength could not bear them both for long. They were dying, both of them. The mission would fail not because of Sauron's armies or the Nazgul or any external force, but because 2 hobbits, alone and unsupported, did not have the physical capacity to cross a wasteland designed to kill anything that entered it. If the Fellowship had stayed together, they could have protected Frodo's body even if they could not protect his mind. Aragorn could have carried him. Gimli could have cleared a path. Legolas could have scouted ahead. Gandalf, if he had lived, could have hidden them from the eye's gaze. The Fellowship's strength was meant to compensate for Frodo's weakness, to be the body that carried the will. But the ring had known this, had planned for this, had systematically removed every piece of support until only Sam remained, and Sam, for all his loyalty and courage, was just another small hobbit with limited strength and no experience with impossible quests. The ring had engineered a scenario where success was mathematically impossible. Two hobbits could not cross Gorgoroth, climb Mount Doom, and destroy the ring. The numbers simply did not work, which meant that Frodo's final act of heroism, or failure depending on perspective, was inevitable from the moment he left the Fellowship behind. At the cracks of doom, standing above the molten fire where the ring could be destroyed, Frodo faced the culmination of every choice, every sacrifice, every moment of corruption that had led him to this precipice. The ring's whispers had become screams. Every nerve in his body demanded that he claim it, that he stop this insanity and accept the power that was rightfully his. Sauron's will press down on him like a physical weight, and in that moment, Frodo understood that he had never been strong enough for this task. No one was strong enough for this task. The ring was designed to be undestroyable by will alone. Isildur could not do it. Galadriel could not do it. Even Gandalf had refused to try. The entire quest had been predicated on a lie, the belief that someone, somewhere, possessed the moral strength to voluntarily surrender ultimate power. Frodo claimed the ring, not because he was weak, but because the mission was impossible. And in that moment of failure, Gollum, wretched, treacherous Gollum, became the world's savior by attacking Frodo, biting off his finger, and dancing with such joy over his reclaimed precious that he stumbled backward into the fire. The ring was destroyed, not by heroism but by accident, not by strength, but by the weakness of two corrupted souls fighting over a piece of jewelry at the edge of a volcano. The Fellowship's fatal flaw was proven correct in the end. Love could not save Frodo. Loyalty could not save Frodo. The only thing that saved Middle-earth was blind chance and the self-destructive nature of evil consuming itself. When Frodo returned to the Shire, he was greeted as a hero, but he felt like a fraud. He had not destroyed the ring, he had claimed it. He had not saved Middle-earth, Gollum had. And the Fellowship, which had sacrificed so much to protect him, had been right to fear what the ring would do. It had turned him, at the final moment, into exactly what they had feared. Another Gollum, another victim, another cautionary tale about the corrosive nature of power. The wounds never healed. The anniversary of every trauma brought fresh pain. And Frodo understood, finally, why he had to leave the Fellowship behind. Not to protect them from the ring's corruption, but to protect himself from the unbearable guilt of what their love would have made him do to them. He sailed to the Undying Lands not as a hero, but as a casualty, one of countless victims of a war that offered no true victory, only varying degrees of loss. The Fellowship broke because it had to, because the ring's power was not in armies or sorcery, but in its ability to turn love into a weapon and friendship into a vulnerability. They were supposed to save him. Instead, their very existence endangered him. And Frodo, in his final act of selfless love, walked away from everyone he cherished to face his doom alone. Not because he was strong, but because the alternative was watching the ring destroy them all. The fatal flaw was never in the Fellowship's courage or loyalty. It was in the fundamental impossibility of their mission, to protect someone from a burden that grew stronger the more people cared about him. In trying to save Frodo, they would have destroyed him. In leaving him alone, they gave him the only chance he ever had. It was not enough, but it was all the ring would allow.